Okay, so happy Halloween. I'm going to say happy Halloween so people that see this video later don't think I dress like this all the time.
Right?
I'm just saying, just for the record, it's Halloween. Okay, so the Uranus-Pluto square and you, which the feeling is kind of like, stop the world, I want to get off. Okay, so how many people have heard of the Uranus-Pluto square? You haven't heard of it? Okay, one person's heard of it. Okay, all right, so the Uranus-Pluto square, I have a little presentation, but we don't have a projector. It's going to be 2012 through 2015, but really the effects are going to be felt all the way into 2020. So this is a long period of time that these two planets are going to be influencing everybody. Okay, so that's what time it is now. So for you to understand what time it is now, you have to know what time was it before. Okay, so look, see, I got Jimi Hendrix, the 60s, okay, the 60s. All right, so in the 60s, if I was a clock, what time is it? If I'm a,
Midnight.
it's 12 o'clock, okay? So this is like Uranus and Pluto. They're together on top of each other. It's 12 o'clock. They're together in Virgo, okay? So now what time is it?
3.
Right. Okay, so this, so you see how it's a quarter after, right? It's a quarter, you know, it's a quarter of the clock, it's a quarter after. This is a square, right? Right here, square is 90 degrees. That's why it's called a square, because Uranus and Pluto are forming a 90-degree angle, or you can say it's the first quarter past when it was 12. It's the first quarter past. So now we have Uranus is in Aries. We'll just pretend this is Uranus, and Pluto is in Capricorn. Okay, so they're squaring. That's what the Uranus-Pluto square means when you hear that. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so in the 60s, everybody, you know, I was born in the 60s. Probably some people in this room were born in the 60s. So we have the Uranus-Pluto conjunction in our charts, in our natal charts. And then some of you in this room probably were alive during the 60s and you remember. So what was it about? It was about social change, civil rights, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? So we had all these, you know, we had Stop the War. All these things were happening at that time, okay? So now it's kind of like first check-in here at the quarter. And we have those forces, instead of being together, they're kind of pushing in different ways, so they're kind of struggling one against the other. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So they're asking for change to resolve this square formation. All right, so we have Pluto right now is in Capricorn. Okay, so now this is going to be easy for you to grasp because we live in a Pluto and Capricorn nation. The United States, in this natal chart of the United States, the Pluto for the United States is in Capricorn. So this is a Pluto return for us. So we're gonna recognize a lot of things. So Capricorn is structures. It's like government, power structures, authority, all those kind of things. And then we have the Pluto, which is coming along, and is saying, okay, everything that's not working has to go. Everything that's not working has to go. Okay, so in this country, we have some really good examples of, oh man, oh darn it. I have no battery power on this computer. Okay, so like our power structures that are in place, okay, we had John McCain, we have Mitt Romney now. They're examples of the power structures that have been in place in this country for hundreds of years, which is, I'm sorry to offend anybody, but it's white, male, Christian, okay? So this is the power structure that needs to go, okay? So there's pressure to, you know, okay, so Obama won in the last election because that's when Saturn was opposed Uranus. So Uranus is all these new ideas. And so Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, so it's kind of that same idea. So they were opposed. Okay, so that time the Uranus forces, the new way of thinking, won. Okay, and so let me pull this up because I have like a good example of the shadow side of Capricorn. Let me give it a minute, okay? Has anybody watched 30 Rock?
Yeah.
Okay, Jack Donaghy. That is the shadow side of Capricorn. That is shoving everybody out of your way to climb the ladder at any cost. And so I have like a little short movie of like some Jack Donaghy quotes. So if you watch the show, you'll be cracking up. If you don't, you might be going, what the heck? Okay, so that's the shadow side of Pluto in Capricorn. Okay, so we got that. All right, the bulldozer, yeah, so I said like the shadow stuff we don't want to look at, you know, like the Industrial Revolution and the environmental costs, slavery, like the housing bubble, all this stuff. Well, why did that happen? We don't know. Oh, yeah, well, we do know why that happened. Okay, so then we have Uranus, and Uranus is in Aries right now. So Aries is a very me first sign, which you're kind of like, oh, maybe we're kind of talking about with that with Capricorn and Pluto stuff. But it's very me, and it's an act first and think later. You know, leap and then look is Aries. Okay, and so. Yeah. That's Aries, okay? And so when you have Uranus, which is like the side, one of the things about Uranus is revolution, you have, I'm totally sick of this and I'm not going to take it anymore. And it's just blow it up. Get it out of the way, you know, think about it later. So, you know, we had the revolutions in Egypt and all that. That was like, you know, this is like, we're not taking this anymore. Out, bye, shut the door, you know, and we're taking over here. The only thing about that, Uranus, and that is it's very chaotic. Okay, it's very chaotic because, like, you know, the Egyptian revolution got criticized because they're like, well, hey, you don't have anybody that you want to put in place in the government. You don't have this, and you don't have these structures in place, which is going back to the Capricorn stuff. And then I heard a interview with one of the revolutionaries, and she's like, well, you know, this is messy. This is messy work. So give us a minute, you know, and we'll get it together because we have all these different sides going off, and we're trying to bring it into one cohesive unit, and it's not going to be pretty and it's not going to be neat, you know. So and in this country we had the Occupy Wall Street. Oh yeah, and then I have the revolution. Remember in the 60s, the revolution will not be televised. Well, actually, in this case, the revolution is televised. That's right, because that's a Uranus thing. The internet is a very Uranian kind of thing. So the revolution is televised this time around. Okay, through Twitter. So that's someone at the Egypt revolution saying who's afraid of Twitter. Okay, so and then the Uranus in Aries is a lot about individual freedoms. So once again, we have these concepts coming up about gay marriage, about, you know, abortion has come up and stuff, because these are all individual freedoms. And so there's a fight where, like, some people are like, no, we can't legislate gay marriage, you know. And then we're bringing up this thing about birth control and abortion again, because it's about these individual freedoms that's scaring the Capricorn's, you know, power structure. But then, you know, people are going, hey, we have these individual freedoms and rights. So yeah, so that's from the Occupy Wall Street. Okay, and then I have another video, but I won't show this. This is called the Yes Men. When you see it on the website, you can watch it. It's kind of interesting. It's about these guys that, well, see, they're on Kickstarter, which Kickstarter is another example of a Uranian kind of thing. Because what it is instead of going to a bank to ask for funding, you go online and you put your Kickstarter project online and you get individual people to fund you. So they're making this movie, and one of the things they did is they posed it as this government agency, and they had a press conference, and they completely reversed the position of the government agency. They're like, yeah, clean coal doesn't exist and we don't support it. And I mean, you just have to watch it. You have to watch it, because I'm not going to show it because you really can't see it. But that's like a really Uranian kind of acting up thing, where it's just like it just makes everyone confused and shocked, and when you watch it, you'll even watch it yourself and you're going, is this for real? Who is the real person from the agency and who is not? And so you'll see that. And then I wanted to bring this guy up. He is a Tibetan living in India. His name is Tenzin something. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But if you Google Tenzin and Free Tibet, you'll see this guy. I'll show you. He's known for that red scarf around his head. And he was born, okay, his father had to flee Tibet when the Chinese invaded. He was born along the way. And so he's lived in exile in India. And one of the things he did is when there was a Chinese government official in the town, he like climbed up the side of the building and unfurled out a banner that said Free Tibet. That's him. That's him. So there's a TEDx talk that he did, and in it he talks about how that was his first foray into fighting for the rights for Tibet. But now he said the importance is to have freedom in the mind. So that's a Uranian concept too, because Uranian has to do with your mind. So he said, if in my mind I am free, then the Chinese, meaning the Chinese, can't imprison me. So that's what he works on, is having that freedom of perspective, that freedom of thought, that freedom in his own mind to know that he is not caged. So I think this is part of the Uranus-Pluto square too, is to have new thoughts. Because see, in this country we're really polarized, and I've already brought up the political race, and it's very polarized. But truth be told, Barack Obama isn't going to do anything that revolutionary as president, because he can't, because it's within the power structure, right? So yeah, I'd rather see him win than Mitt Romney, but I mean, really, truth be told, what can, how much can he really do? That's because we need a new, out-of-the-box concept of how to handle these things. So like the elephant in the room is that no one wants to talk about is that our monetary structure, our monetary system is going to collapse along with Europe. That's what nobody wants to, that's the elephant in the room no one wants to talk about. They want to talk about budget and stuff, but it's like, what does that mean when the whole thing's just going to come down like a house of cards? So that's what I'm saying. So this is like, woo, brand new stuff, bringing way new ideas, not just liberal and conservative, but just new, brand new ideas. So Tenzin reminds us of that. And then also, I think there's a little bit of a passing of the torch feeling here too, because I brought up the 60s when it was like this, and now it's like this. So those of us who were born with Uranus-Pluto together in our chart, who are probably middle-aged right now, it's kind of like that generation that was participating in those times when we were little kids or babies is kind of passing the torch to us and saying, keep it going. It's your turn now. And then finally, so just the final thoughts on what the Uranus-Pluto square means to all of us is, one, to free your mind. So I had that En Vogue song, free your mind and the rest will follow. Okay, that song. And then, and then there is no normal life, Wyatt. There is just life. That was from that one Western movie. So if you think it's going to go back to how it was, if you think gas prices are going to be $1.50, if you think things are going to, quote unquote, stabilize and stuff, it's never going to go back to how it was. It's not going to go back to normal. It's just life. And so you got to go with it. And then the hardest battle you'll ever have to fight is the battle to be yourself. So that's kind of like the Uranian call, is to just be your own authentic self and not be afraid of who you are and what you have to express. And so that's pretty much it.